and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we have any public comment on agenda items? And with none, we can move on to consensus items.
I don't really have a whole lot to point out. We've obviously this time of year we have a lot of staff movement going on, and we want to welcome all of our new hires and wish those folks who are going elsewhere or retiring the best of luck on their new endeavors. I'm not going to think I really have anything else to know. Double check. Lori, did those, I put note in the notes. Did
Right.
those?
I did not get the paperwork, so they will be in August.
So the two that I had made a note in your notes that were removed, because we hadn't got their signed paperwork for change of position yet, were removed. So we will vote on that in August when we get that paperwork.
Okay. Any questions or comments or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to start approving our consensus agenda.
Second.
Motion by Wiley, seconded by Darlene to approve the consensus items as presented. All those in favor, and also saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next, we have a program update from Nicole.
So at your seat, I have given you a copy of our prioritized needs. Tonight, I would like to review our goals that we have identified for our federal programming. And then I would also like to review our federal title allocations and then give you some updates on how we plan to use those funds for the upcoming school year. So each year, our district submits a pre-application to the state in order to receive federal funding. That's for Titles 1, 2, and 4. We're required within that application to identify 3 district goals, and our federal funds then are used to help meet those goals. So this year, our 3 goals include raising student achievement, educator effectiveness, and leadership effectiveness. So I'm going to walk you through each of those 3 goals briefly to give you an idea of what we plan to do to meet those goals, and then also a little bit about what we did this year to set up for that. So starting with student achievement, we are setting a goal for iRead for 95% of our students to pass iRead in 3rd grade. To help meet this goal, we are going to continue contracting with the literacy cadre. So our instructional coach, Linda Wellman, will meet with the cadre coach. They typically meet each month. And then Mrs. Wellman meets with each of the grade levels, and they discuss different techniques or strategies. They analyze student data to help continue moving primary literacy. In addition, we are also going to be focusing again this year on Acadians for grade levels K1 and 2. We started Acadians as our screener last year. Went very well. We had lots of great conversations about the data that we received from that platform. So we're all excited that we're continuing with that same assessment this year. And then new this year, we have the opportunity to use the assessment DIBELS for grades 3, 4, and 5 for a very small percent of students who might be at risk for reading proficiency. So we're looking to utilize that assessment platform. It is very similar to Acadians, it's just for older grades. And it'll be for just a few students that we need additional information on for reading proficiency. For iLearn, we are setting a goal to have a 4% increase for ELA and math. This will be in grades 3 through 8. To help support this goal, the most changes that we'll see this year will be at the middle school level. I know Mrs. Schlimmer talked in her last update to you all about some of the changes that are coming, but I just wanted to highlight again some program updates for the middle school for this year. We will be having an academic lab in grades 6 through 8, and this is to help meet the state's goal of having intervention for math for this school year for each of those grade levels. We are also choosing to also include ELA, so we'll have reading intervention. So every middle schooler will have math or reading intervention or enrichment, depending on their need, during their academic lab time. Additionally, the state came out with new requirements for a math auto enrollment. So if a student is blue or above proficiency on ILEARN, they're automatically going to be enrolled into the next year's math course. And so we have been working at the middle school to make sure that those logistics are ready to go for the school year. And then finally, we are going to be having a new K2 math screener. And the goal there is that we are looking at primary math skills and making sure that there's a strong foundation there so that when they get to grades 3 through 8, they will be able to have proficiency in their math skills. And then finally, at the high school, our goal for SATs is for students to have a 4% increase. To help meet that goal, we're continuing to work through the high school redesign, and our English and math departments are meeting this summer to work on vertical articulation alignment and also reviewing their common formative assessments. Our second goal is educator effectiveness. To help meet this goal, we're going to be implementing PLCs this school year. Teams that meet in PLCs will be by grade level or by a department, and we will use the 4 PLC guiding questions to lead each team. Those guiding questions will be, what should the student know and be able to do? How will we know if they've learned it? How will we respond when students do not learn it? And how will we extend the learning for students who are already proficient? So the PLC model is really focusing on student achievement and making sure that students are meeting their goals. So to do this, we are going to continue analyzing common formative assessment data. We will be looking at our progress monitoring that we're getting from Acadience, our math screeners, DIBELS, and our ILEARN checkpoints. And then we will also use summative assessments. For instruction in the classroom, we are going to continue using Wit and Wisdom this year, K-5. We are also going to continue with CKLA in grades 6 through 8, using explicit instruction and differentiation or extension strategies. And then for our third goal that we have identified will be leadership effectiveness. And similar to our educator effectiveness, the leadership goal will also focus on PLC implementation for the upcoming school year. Our goal is that teachers K-8 will be meeting twice a month, either in teams or departments, to review and analyze student data. And then at the high school, teachers in grades 9 through 12 that are ELA or math teachers will meet to do similar work. To help start our PLC process and our goals, we, as a leadership team, the principals, myself, and Mrs. Hyatt, we attended a PLC summit training through Solution Tree. It was a virtual training that we attended together so that we could start identifying some of our district goals and how we want that rollout to look across the district. We plan to continue having professional development on PLCs as we go through this process so we can continue learning and growing as a team. And then from that feedback that we're getting from teachers and student data, then we will continue to look towards our district-wide collaboration and goals and make sure that we're meeting all of the needs of our students. Do you have any questions on the 3 goals that were identified in our pre-application? Okay, so from those goals, we then are going to take a look at our title funding. So the funding that we receive need to be tied to the goals that I just mentioned. So when we go through the total allocations, I'll be giving you an idea of how that money has been spent historically, and then if we're looking at any changes for this upcoming school year. So we're going to start with Title I. Title I funds here at North Adams are mainly used for teachers, personnel. We have 2 full-time title teachers that meet with students at the elementary. And then we also have part-time title teachers that are also able to meet with students. In addition to those teachers, there are a few funds that we have that we use to purchase some supplies and materials, but as our allocation goes down, access to those materials also has been dwindling. So it's mainly salaries at this point. One thing I want to point out to you, when you look at our total allocation column, you will notice that it is decreasing each year. And then similarly, if you look over at the number of our non-pub students who are qualifying for Title I funding, that number is increasing. So when you have those two pieces together, our portion that we have here at North Adams continues to go down. So you would take that total allocation and subtract the non-pubs allocation, and that's what we have remaining for us to use. So the more students who are at our non-pubs that qualify for Title I, we will continue to see our portion go down. So that's just something important to know. As I mentioned, our title funds are mostly for personnel, so we are closely watching the funds in our allocation. Any questions about Title I?
I do think it would be good to say, from a federal standpoint, these are federal funds, and as you all have probably heard in the news, the U.S. Department of Education has been tremendously downsized. And so there's a lot of fear and anxiety right now, I think, as to what will happen with this federal funding. The trend has been decreasing the amount of money put toward these title funds. It's not just all a result of smaller numbers. So there's a lot of, all schools, I think, are worried about how are we going to continue serving our students who might maybe need the most supports.
Okay, so the next section is Title II. Our Title II funds pay for professional development. From the goals that we just went through, I mentioned things like CKLA and Written Wisdom, our core programs that we're using, and also the assessments like Acadians and Dibbles. So our Title II funds pay for the training that we need to successfully implement new assessments or new curriculum. You will also notice that our Title II allocation has went down. Similarly, when our non-pub enrollment goes up, their allocation will go up. So that then results in us having an even smaller allocation to use here at North Adams. Because our Title II funds historically are trending down, we have had to start being very selective in the professional development that we are providing throughout the school year. And that means that we're really prioritizing what is in our goals. So that means that we're going to be prioritizing this year core curriculum professional development. That professional development that all teachers need to implement the new reading or math curriculum that they might be using in their classroom. We're also going to be prioritizing assessment training. So if we use a new assessment screener, we want to make sure that our teachers have the professional development that they need to utilize that. In the past, especially when we had more funds or we had more grant options, we might have been able to approve if a teacher said, I found this really great training and I really want to go and learn more about whatever it is in their classroom that they might want. Maybe it's classroom management, or maybe it's an enrichment activity. Those isolated one-day, one-teacher trainings are really going to have to be selective moving forward to this year because our allocation is being cut. And we need to make sure that we have enough funds that reserved for us to be able to hit our strategic goals. So that might be a note to change for this upcoming school year. I did include at the bottom the formula for Title II for our non-public schools because it is different from Title I. So for Title II, you're taking the total enrollment of the non-public school. So as you know, we added a non-public school this year. We added 3 Oaks. So when you're looking at Title II funds, we're including now their whole building, their whole allocation, student enrollment. And then it's based on a per pupil amount. So that's just something else to consider when you look at allocation amounts in the future. That could look different because we added the building.
And those building amounts, it does not matter if they are from our boundaries or not. So there are students who go there from Ohio, for example, that's included in their count, or other just neighboring districts.
You're in the county. because Three Oaks or any of our non-public schools, because they're in our attendance area, we are their LEA. So it's our funds that they have access to. And that's the same for Title IV. So when you look at Title IV, it's very similar to the other two title funds that we just looked at. Our allocation last school year went down. And Title IV is also by per pupil, just like Title II.
What's Title IV typically?
Title IV, we historically here have used for PBIS, classroom management, and also student safety, or our student support specialist who helps coordinate services like mental health services with students and their families in a community. We use Title IV funds for those different services, a more well-rounded education for students. Do you have any questions about any of our title funds? And if you flip it over on the back, I wanted to show the enrollment for our non-public schools. So I provided a historical enrollment from 2021. Again, Three Oaks was new this year to title funds, so that's why there are X's on the previous years. I just wanted you to see that the total non-public school student number is continuing to rise. And as I mentioned, when that number rises, then our portion of that share will go down. I will update you all on our 2026 enrollment numbers when that becomes available. I also wanted to mention that our 25-26 school year assessment results are not available. Our iLearn assessment is not available to share yet. And so when we are
Today.
Yeah, so when we are able, that is why I didn't give you updates on what this current year's
I'm not
data.
that's really waiting for that amount.
I know, so I will give that update, or I will give that
It's like
update.
September, they say?
I learned in September, but after the August board meeting, the state board meeting, we'll be able to share the other results that we have access to. But I learned won't be until September, hopefully.
Is that the new norm?
No,
Just
no, that was just this year because they had a redesign of the assessment platform, and so there are things on there and they have to get worked out.
Really smooth.
You
Yeah.
bet. Sure.
We have to redesign things frequently.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry.
Just wanted to add that Nicole's doing an awesome job coming in. Baptism by fire there right in the start, middle of grant season. And I was so glad she came in because I was puzzling my way through. But she's done a great job and really has a lot of experience with PLCs and data, and is really helping us get kind of laser focused on what we need to be laser focused on. So glad to have her.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Okay, so we have no old business this evening and several items in the new business. The first is permission to fill open positions prior to 26-27 school year.
So this is an annual request, just because as any other positions may open, we still have a couple that are remaining open. Luckily, the principals have filled the majority of what we had. This is just to give us an opportunity to get people in here, get them started and ready to go for the first student day, because I think our board meeting's on the second teacher day.
Yeah.
We definitely want them in here and be able to start.
Well, we still have an assistant principal position there too.
Yep. They're interviewing.
Any questions or comments or motion to approve?
I'm motion to approve.
Motion by Joel, is there a second? Second by Darlene. Motion by Joel, second by Darlene, to give permission to fill open positions prior to the 26-27 school year. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next is the approval of the resolution for the 2026 transfer between debt service fund and operational fund.
So this is something that legally we have to do because of House Enrolled Act 1210. That is the one that basically, because of the homestead credit and the new tax caps, we are going to anticipate losing close to $897,000 from tax caps. And then with the homestead credit that different taxpayers are getting, we'll lose about another $337,000. So that is around the $1.2 million in loss in our property tax revenue. Well, that affects more than just operations, it affects debt service too. So what this allows us to do is basically transfer money between proportionally to make sure that we can make our debt payments, because again, this loss of revenue will impact both funds. And this just makes us stay flush with what if we need to.
Yeah, just some flexibility.
So the legislature put this in that allowed us to do this, which was
For 1 year, right?
for now.
For now.
I'm anticipating it will be necessary again.
Yeah, but,
I don't think we're done with property tax reform.
No.
No.
Okay, any questions, comments, or a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Wiley, is there a second? Second by Joel. Motion by Wiley, second by Joel to approve the resolution for the 2026 transfer between debt service fund and operations fund. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next, it looks like we have several MOUs. So the first is approval of Park Center MOU for the 26-26 school year.
So I'll put Park Center and Bowen together, if you will. We have an annual MOU with them because Park Center comes in and we give them permission with this MOU to address the students who are in their services. Park Center most often provides services to folks who either have a court-ordered or DCS ordered services. And this allows them to come in and not have violations of FERPA or HIPAA. Again, just kind of sets the stage for compliance for everyone. Bowen comes in and they are usually our skills coach providers, so we might have 18 to 22 skills coaches coming in and out. And again, there's no financial consideration on either one of those. It is simply just a compliance-driven MOU to make sure that everything is legally appropriate, and that covering liability and things like that. So those two, I would say, you can take together.
Okay.
That's what you want to do.
Okay. Any questions or comments or a motion to approve the Park Center and Bowen Center MOUs?
I'll make that motion for both Park Center and Bowen Center.
Okay. Motion by Wiley, seconded by Darlene to approve both the Park Center and Bowen Center MOU for the 26-27 school year. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next is the approval of the Adams Health Mental Health Services MOU for the 26-27 school year.
So Adams Memorial Behavioral Health, I'm probably not using their correct title any longer. They are who provide our therapists who come in with parent permission, of course, and all the paperwork. There is a cost associated with them because this is not Medicaid billed. As I'm sure many of you, several of you work in, one of you here tonight, work in healthcare. Cost for all of us, whether it's liability insurance, trying to give raises to recruit and retain staff goes up. So they have been increasing their request for our reimbursement to them by a couple of thousand annually, and we have been happy to do that. Still would be happy to do that, but there probably needed to be a place where we'd say, okay, we're going to have to pause. This is that year that I'm recommending and ask Valdemar if we could just basically keep our expense at the same it has been. And so we dropped 4 face-to-face hours. So it had been, I think, 20 face-to-face hours for the same cost as last year. It's 16 face-to-face hours plus some administrative hours for the same that we had last year. So this one does have a fiscal element. Basically, it's static, it's neutral from last year. We are pursuing a grant. I have no idea how successful we'll be. That could potentially allow us to go back and reopen this with them if we would get that and be able to capture more hours. But we want to wait and see. It'll be a competitive one, so there's no promise.
Okay. Any questions or comments or motion to approve? Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Darlene, seconded by Wiley to approve the Adams Memorial Health Mental Health Services MOU for the 26-27 school year. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next is the approval of Total Care ABA MOU for parentally provided outside therapists for 26-27 school year.
So you,
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
so you've approved a couple of these. There are a lot of ABA centers that are, whether they have a storefront or they're more of a, I guess I would say remote supervised situation. So this is a request from a parent. This came from their MOU came from Churchill and Antrim that we use as a template that again you've approved before. So this is for a registered behavioral technician to come in and work with one of our students, and this just provides the parameters for liability. Again, HIPAA and FERPA protections. Gives us some protections if someone would come in and maybe not behave in a way that we were wanting them to behave, or allows us to contact their supervisor, say no more, those kinds of things. So we're in support of it. This just provides us legal protections and them legal protections because it outlines everyone's responsibilities, and there is no financial, nothing financial on us. This is from the parent.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Joel, seconded by Darlene to approve the Total Care ABA MOU for the parentally provided outside therapist for the 26-27 school year. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next is the approval of the 26-27 food service prices.
So, one key thing I wanted to mention and say again, and big kudos to Erin Ripley Stewart and her staff, that our elementary and middle school will still be provided free breakfast and lunch, which is a huge boon for those families. High school doesn't quite meet the free reduced lunch percentage at that age, so there was a increase. I think I put that in your notes. Looks like 10 cents for breakfast and lunch for basic entrees. She included a little bit of cost. I think she is going to try some additional a la carte items. And then adult breakfast looks like it increased 15 cents and 20 cents for adult lunch.
Okay. Any questions or comments or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the food services prices for 26-27.
Motion by Wiley, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Wiley, seconded by Joel to approve the 26-27 food service prices as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next is the approval of the Southward Park property conveyance to the city of Decatur.
So this was a late ad with a request from the city. I'm going to let Scott explain all of this because this was news to me. I did not know all this.
Well, here's an additional late ad, they'd like Northwood too.
Oh,
I just got that today. Because you don't know what Northwood and Southwood are, they're former school buildings
Oh,
that were in Decatur, part of the school city of Decatur, that when the consolidation was done, the North Adams, all property owned by the school city of Decatur became property of North Adams. Well, to my knowledge, we've never used Southwood as Northwood. Southwood is that little park on Winchester Road right across from about where Grant Street crosses.
oh,
It has a half a basketball court and
Yeah.
swing set. Northwood is that little park across from the pool. Both of those used to have school years and years and years ago. Well before any of us were considering attending school.
yeah.
So they would like to have them back. The reason they want Southwood back now is they're applying for a grant. Can't get the grant unless they own it. So they need that. They're going to do some upgrades and things there. They like Northwood back because apparently last year they did a bunch of upgrades on it. And I think they probably thought they owned it at the time.
Sure.
Which
Well,
a lot of people
actually, I thought they-
didn't own it, but,
Yeah.
you know,
I thought they did.
So,
Yeah.
but Parks and Rec is wanting to do a lot of things with those properties. As Beth and I were talking before the meeting, this gets them off of our liability risk, we could use the balance of our insurance. So what I would be recommending is that you give Kim the authority to sign the deeds to convey those properties back to the city of Decatur.
And we don't, I mean, we don't do anything with them, we don't maintain them or
No,
do anything with them.
Parks and Rec will do it every year.
Yeah, wow.
Didn't even know they
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I think this cleans up the last of these old pieces of property that have been where buildings were,
Okay.
athletic fields and things where they belong to the school city of Decatur, and just roll in
Mhm.
with that.
Okay.
I'm excited that at Southward, I think the grant they're going for is to try to create an inclusive park. So
Oh, nice.
something that our students with different disabilities
Mhm.
could participate in
Mhm.
more so and access.
These transfers are along the lines of what we do with Northwest,
Mhm.
those transfer. We're required by law, if the school, if Decatur wants it back,
We have to give it
we
to them.
have to give it to them once we're done with it. When we get done with it,
Yeah.
a long time, it's going back.
Yeah.
How they do. So there's no compensation, and nothing,
Yeah.
we just get a monkey
The
off our
paperwork
backs.
done.
And we go back to the meeting number.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew that there were old school buildings, but I thought that had been done a long time.
Yeah.
Are there any other properties we should know
I run through my head, I think this cleans it up. But I'm not guaranteeing it.
Are we on that car wash over there?
This area was no part of the school city of Decatur.
This, years ago, was a fairgrounds, horse racing.
Yeah, wasn't that out?
They did the
Yeah.
perimeter
Yeah.
of this, that's why trees were kind of lined the way they were.
Yeah.
A lot of those trees now, because of age, are gone.
Gone. Yeah.
Then they had a small track that's actually where the current track
Oh,
is.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never went there.
Well, this was before our time, way before.
And so is there questions, comments, or a motion to approve this North Ward and South Ward park property conveyance to the city of Decatur?
I'll make that motion that then Kim has the authority to sign.
Okay, motion by Wiley, seconded by Darlene to approve for North Ward and South Ward park property conveyance to the city of Decatur. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next, we have the superintendent's report.
So the next time we will be talking, it'll be the night before. Kids will be arriving, believe it or not. So registration, fingers crossed, we hope goes live, start looking as early as tomorrow. So we are very hopeful. We think the kinks are worked out. So hopefully that will be, and folks can start getting their registrations done. Supply list should go out pretty quickly after that. Folks, I think on social media saw the No Cells Bell to Bell infographic that we put out just so that parents here understood. I know there's been a lot of coverage in the news and whatnot, but wanted to make sure our parents also understood that we're forced to be compliant with that law too, that no student can have their cell phone basically from the start of school to the end of school. Here, it's going to have to be off and in their lockers if they choose to bring it in the building. I did include some information in the infographic about safety concerns. I did have a couple folks from the community reach out and have some questions about what if this happens, what if that happens. So just to provide everybody that information, I assume this is what our legislators received as well, that probably help guide some of their decisions, taking safety as a consideration. But the FBI, National School Resource Officer Association, are both saying that student possession and use of cell phones in an active shooter or other catastrophic event probably is more harmful than good more often than not. Certainly they recognize there are some chance that a student could be the one to alert 911. There's not a lot of successful incidents of that yet. Uvalde, they attempted to, but there were some problems there that dispatch did not get it out to officers. And then the second piece is it certainly provides we parents some peace of mind to hear from your child if you hear there is some kind of catastrophic event, and that's all noted. But what they said was, number one, more often than not, our first response, our first training response for students and staff are to lock down if they are told that there is potentially an armed intruder of some sort until you know where they are in the situation, and then you might have to make other decisions, whether it's remove yourself, evacuate, or prepare to counter a potential attacker. So having a phone you might miss, number one, life-saving instructions from first responders or misinterpret them, because we are now well aware that first responders are trained to come in and hunt a potential perpetrator. You do not want to be mistaken for that, so you definitely want to be paying attention to any instructions being given. Secondly, if you are locking down, and we train staff to cover their windows, turn the lights off, get as far out of sight, then the audio or light from a device might be something that would alert a potential perpetrator that there's someone in that room and it is worth their time and energy to try to enter. We all know that if there were a catastrophic event of any kind, cell towers are likely going to be jammed, so the more people trying to send messages and receive messages, the less likely we are to be able to get out important and accurate information. So those are some of the things that those two organizations put out. As far as trying to answer and allay some fears of the folks who reached out to me, I wanted to reiterate, a couple years ago we adopted Centegix, which is a crisis alert system. Every staff member here at North Adams, including our skills coaches who come in from other organizations, if you're here regularly, you're given a badge that has a button on it, and that button allows you, if you press it once or a couple times, to alert in-house responders to an event, whether there's a child injured on the playground or someone's having a meltdown, someone needs to come and be walked to the office or whatever. But there's also an opportunity to alert immediately and first responders. It does not go through the office, it doesn't go through our phones, it goes immediately to dispatch. All of our Decatur Police Department also have that app on their phone, and as soon as that alert, danger alert, comes from us, it is automatically on their police department phones. And so, like I told one person, we had an inadvertent press, I think last fall, and we had 2 officers in the building within 90 seconds, within a minute and a half. So that was, as disruptive as that accidental push was, it was the best training we ever had, because it allowed them to kind of understand how that works and what it looks like in a true event, and allowed us to kind of play through some scenarios and tweaks and things that we needed to do. We also just finished, there's a new law about 911, and when 911 is pressed, all of our phones in all classrooms and offices have an automatic 911 button on it. That's a one press. That 911 call origination location automatically gets sent to a whole slew of people, every secretary, every administrator, several of our guidance counselors, our SRO, so that we know the exact location where that 911 press happened. Our SRO, Officer Elwell, has done an excellent job. I don't know if some folks were out here a couple weeks ago, but he put on a tactical training for a active shooter event for lots of different officers here in our area, but across the state as well. And he's planning on doing another one with more of our local officers. Number one, his goal is he wants all of our first responders to have opportunity to know our campus, so that when that pops up from Centegix, it puts a dot on a map, it comes up on their phone about where the alert is. They have an idea in their head where that is in the building, and the best way to get there, the fastest way to get there. He wants them to, again, have had opportunity to practice with some of the guys who are likely to be first in line, because there is a whole training scenario with what the first folks do versus the second wave versus the third wave. And so he's really involved in that, and he's done a great job with our administrators and also training our staff and students in those scenarios about what should they expect, what are different things that may happen and how might you react in those scenarios and how to be best prepared. So while all of us pray that there is never any need to have any use for any of these things, given the parameters we have to operate within, I think we're doing our best to try to be as prepared as we can for our staff, our students, our first responders, and so we will continue to do that. There's going to be an infographic come out. There's going to be a slight change to the high school attendance policy that Mr. Pranger came and talked to you about a couple months ago when he introduced the handbook, and that is the high school is going to be kind of looking at attendance from a full year standpoint as opposed to a semester reset, and there'll be an infographic coming out here in a couple weeks about what that looks like. If there are parents that know their child's going to have extenuating circumstances, chronic illnesses, injuries, surgeries upcoming, whatever that case is, they're just encouraged to contact the high school office and they will make alternative attendance plans with them if that's what needs to happen. Still not too late to enroll if anyone's interested in Belmont Next, our online virtual school, kindergarten pre-K, still opportunities and still space. And some key dates upcoming. Backpack Bash is July 27th. August 10th is our first staff day, and that afternoon, 2 to 6, the high school's having open house, and the elementary that evening is having back to school night, 5 to 6 for elementary students, with last names beginning 8 a.m. and 6 to 7 for students with last names in Z. And that we'll get information out about that more so as time gets closer. On August 11th, which is our second staff day, the middle school's having their back to school night 4 to 6. And then the 12th of August is the first student day. What's on everyone? Believe it or not. Coming up fast, it is.
Okay,
That's all I have.
all right. Any other matters to come before the board? Board members?